Um, yeah, I've been working on cryptocurrency projects for 5 years. Now I'm focused on Bitcoin Cash. So, have you ever used Bitcoin as a currency? Have you ever used it to send money to friends or to pay for something? No one has used it. You use it. So yeah, hopefully today you will use it. But so there's a problem with Bitcoin is that since 2017 the fees are extremely high on the network, and it is very hard to send a transaction. It will take maybe 30 minutes to confirm, and you might have to pay like a $10 fee, even to send like a single dollar to someone else. So Bitcoin Cash is a fork of Bitcoin, which means it has pretty much the same protocol except for this fee and this limit. So it enables people to actually use it in commerce, just like Bitcoin in the early 2010s. In Bangkok, I think someone said in their talk earlier that you couldn't really use cryptocurrency as a currency, but in Bangkok alone, there's like over 40 merchants, maybe 50 merchants that take cryptocurrency in the store. I used to rent my condo with Bitcoin Cash. You can pretty much do anything with cryptocurrency right now. So the technology is ready, and it's been ready for 10 years basically. It just needs the people to actually use it and people to accept it. So today I will introduce you to a Python library that I'm a maintainer of called BitCash, and it allows you to interact with the Bitcoin Cash blockchain easily. Just a few use cases that you might want to use Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash payments would be for a payment on a website and on a mobile app. You could send Bitcoin Cash between users if you have a platform. Could be an exchange that we saw earlier. Could be anything. There's been a lot of decentralized social media, a lot of DeFi things we've heard. But in order to interact with the blockchain, it's technical, but it's a bit complex. There's different options, different approaches. One of them is to run a full node. So basically the full node is the software that keeps track of everyone's transactions from day one. Since Bitcoin was created, since the very first transaction in 2009, the full node will keep a record of that. The problem, okay, so that's one of the options. You can also use a software library in your mobile app or in your website that will interact with someone else's full node, like a third party full node. But this is still, you have control over the transactions and how you want to interact with the blockchain. And the third option is to use a payment processor, just like a traditional payment processor like Stripe. I think in Thailand, Omise is a pretty big one. But for crypto, so there's BitPay, Coinbase, Commerce, there's a bunch of payment processors. And this is listed from the hardest to do, the more technical, to the easier. Using a payment processor is very easy to integrate in your website. If you have like a Shopify site, it's already built in. You can start accepting Bitcoin Cash and cryptocurrency payment. So running a full node is, you have total control over what you do and over the transactions. So you can do pretty much anything. It's very fast because you have the blockchain on your local computer, so you can interact with it very easily, very fast. The problem is that the Bitcoin blockchain is about 200 gigabytes. It's about the same for the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And it also requires the CPU and RAM requirements, which get very expensive. So if you were to run a full node, you might spend like $200 a month just to run the full node of servers. So not everyone wants and can run a full node. For the software library that doesn't keep track of the blocks, so the pros are, it's very easy to set up. I will do a demo of the Python BitCash library in a moment. It runs anywhere, so you could run this on pretty much any hardware. Could be a Raspberry Pi, could be anything. So it's very cheap to run on. The cons are that you rely on a third-party node. So if you're doing something that is extremely, that you require censorship resistance, you might want to run your own full node. It's slower because every time you query the blockchain, you will do an HTTP request. So this will add a bit of time to it. And it has limited capacity. You can't do everything. You can only do what the library offers you to do through its API. And finally, the third method is to use a payment processor. So this is very easy to set up, as I was saying. If you have like a Shopify site, it's already integrated. You can just copy and paste an API token, and boom, you can start accepting cryptocurrency payments right away. And it does not require any coding or tech experience. It's really just click and drag and drop, basically. The problems are that you usually have to submit your KYC, so you have to submit your password, your company details, and some people don't want to do that, or for legal reasons, this can be a huge limitation for some businesses. And it can only do payments. So if you want to put data on the blockchain, if you want to do smart contracts, you're not going to be able to do that through a payment processor. They only allow you to do payments. And this is a centralized solution. So I've used this library for quite a few projects. Do you know the app Telegram? There's the Bitcoin Cash tipping bot that uses this library that I made. It's the main tipping bot the main Bitcoin Cash tipping bot currently on Telegram. There's a conference website, and there's a few. The others are e-commerce websites basically, but I will just show the conference website. So it's canceled because of COVID-19, obviously. But yeah, you can just basically buy a ticket online, and there's no third parties involved. The private keys controlling the coins are held on the server, and then the coins are sent to the organizer right away. So this is one use case. And also something I forgot to mention is that often the third party payment processor takes a fee. If you code the solution yourself, obviously you don't have any fee to pay. So potentially, if you handle a lot of transactions, then it might be more economic to code it yourself. I'll just talk a little bit about BitCash. So it was forked from a library called Bit, which is a Bitcoin BTC library. And it was forked in 2017 after the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. It's very beginner friendly, I will show in a moment. It's very easy to get started with, obviously, and it's very well documented. It has 94% test coverage. This is the documentation, so I will put a link after the talk. Pretty much everything is documented. And it's been around for a few years, and it handled quite a lot of payments, so it's very stable. So I'll go ahead and do a demo. Yeah, I hope, is everyone, so who does Python programming here? Specifically, Python, what do the others do? JavaScript? C++? Okay, so yeah, if you do any programming at all, then Python is very easy. I'll just go ahead. So one hand, First thing you want to do is import the library. So obviously you want to install it first with pip install BitCash. BitCash written just like this. And so from BitCash, you want to import, only one hand, the key class. So basically what it does, I will give an instance to the class. Okay, basically what this does is it creates a key pair. So I don't know if you're familiar with cryptography and private key cryptography, but basically if you have something called a private key, it's like a password. And this password allows you to spend the money. So what this does is it creates a private key and a public key associated to it. And from the public key, you can derive the address. I will make this a little bigger. So this is basically a Bitcoin Cash address. Could be a Bitcoin address, looks a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing. What I will do is send money to it right now, so we can test it. Okay, now what you can do is invoke the getBalance method, and this will basically, as you can guess, it gets you the balance. So this is the balance in Satoshi. A Satoshi is 0.7001 Bitcoin, so it's a very small amount. But what you could do is get the amount in US dollar. So you just pass the USD argument. So I actually sent 10 cents, but because of the different rates, this calculated to 9 cents. But basically I sent 10 cents, and there's 10 cents of US dollar in this wallet. It supports multi-currency, so you could have Euro. Does it support Thai baht? It does, so that's like 3 baht. I'm cheap. So yeah, there's money in the wallet already. Now what you could do is show the private key associated to this wallet. So if right now I were to close my terminal, basically the money would be lost forever, and no one could ever be able to recover this money. So what you usually do is you get a backup of your wallet, and this is basically it. This is a long password that allows you to spend the money. So if I were to break my computer and load this password into someone else's computer, then I could spend the money. If I didn't have this password, I would have lost the money forever. So, very important. You can obviously send, these are the basic commands. So send takes, I will create a new address, key 2, and that's the address. And I will send from the first wallet, so key K to K2. So it takes a list, because you could send to multiple people at the same time. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. You can pretty much code whatever you want. You could send to 1,000 people. And here you specify the address you want to send to, and I forgot a B. Then the amount, so say 2 baht, THB. And hopefully this goes through. So this is the transaction ID. So if I were to copy this and go to an Explorer, so the Explorer is basically your interface to the blockchain. If you're not running a full node locally, you can go here and paste your address and look for pretty much any payment on Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, or any cryptocurrency. And so you can see that this is a transaction, and it sent this amount of Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, here, 10 cents. Oh, yeah. Now let's check on K2 that it has received. Okay, so there's a miner fee. On Bitcoin, I wouldn't be able to send 2 BAT because the fee is $10, it's 300 BAT. So on Bitcoin, you are not able to send a small amount of money. So if you wanted to buy a bottle of water with Bitcoin, you couldn't because the fee is 300 BAT already. So, but on Bitcoin Cash, I'm not going to go into the details, but it was like this on Bitcoin from day one. The fee is very small. It's less than 0.01 BAT, basically. So it's maybe something like 0.1 BAT, actually. So this is why you want to use it in commerce. You can do more stuff. You can do things like send a message to the blockchain, and basically what it enables you to do is you can store data on the blockchain, and this data will be recorded forever on the blockchain. So this is how these decentralized social media work. This is how smart contracts work. You deploy them once and then they run forever, and you cannot change the code afterward. So let's do that. I will send, I don't know how much I have left, 1 BAT. You can add a message parameter here. Okay, I will add Chula. Okay, and this is the transaction ID again. So this is a unique ID. Let's look it up. If internet wants. Okay. And here in the up return, that's Chula. So basically, everyone running the network right now has this on the computer, on their computer, all around the world. So this is how you achieve censorship resistance. You can do a lot of things with this library that I'm not going to go into details with, but it has, again, a huge amount of documentation. So you could go play around with the rates. You can convert into, Satoshi, Bitcoin Cash, do some conversions. You can edit the fees if you want to pay a higher fee, up to you. This is not needed. You can basically edit whatever you want. It's open source, obviously. So let's get the private key for K2. Okay, and same thing with this private key. There was just 1 BAT in this wallet, but basically you would be able to spend the coins. Yeah, so anyway, who has a wallet here, a Bitcoin wallet on their phone? No one has a wallet. who understood this? Who is already a little bit comfortable with programming and understood how to manipulate a library, to use a library? Good. Okay, so this was just a basic introduction. And so if you have any questions.
So I don't know how to code blockchain yet, but how do a blockchain community deal with when someone flushing these commands into the blockchain network? Like really many of these commands.
Many transactions, you mean?
Yeah.
So this is why there's a fee on Bitcoin. So very early, Bitcoin, you could spend Bitcoin for 0 and your transactions would go through. So if I sent you 1 Bitcoin, you would receive 1 Bitcoin. And then Satoshi, and I mean the concept of fee was there, but basically now the fee is enforced to prevent people from flooding the blockchain with transactions. This is why there's a fee. You saw it earlier, like I sent 2 TIBA, I received less than that, and actually deducted the fee from the sender, but that's why there's a fee. So any transaction paying a fee has the right to be there. So if I wanted to send millions of transactions at some point, even if the fee is very low for 1 transaction, for a million transaction, then it's a very high fee. So does that answer the question?
Supported the Bitcoin like fully, like the government has approved and the people is actually transacting it?
Yes, so obviously governments are usually against it because it goes against the central bank and it's how they can print money basically and how they can control their people. But in many countries, it's usually smaller countries like St. Kitts, Antigua. These are islands in the Caribbean, but basically you can buy citizenship there to the government with Bitcoin. I think they embraced and understood the benefit, the pros of Bitcoin, and they embrace it. Sadly, for most governments, it's not the case. But the good thing with Bitcoin is that it's censorship resistant. So it doesn't matter if the government says yes or no, is that you can still trade it. I used to live in China, but Bitcoin is more or less banned in China. You're not supposed to transact Bitcoin. It's the country where the most miners are. So the only way for the government to shut down Bitcoin is to shut down the entire internet and do like North Korea. It's the only way. If you have an internet access, no matter where you are, you will be able to use Bitcoin. And hopefully more and more governments will understand this and embrace it instead of fighting with their own people, because the goal of the government is to serve the people, but usually it's the other way around. So hopefully they will understand, and the countries that understand right now will get better off later on, that's for sure.
What is the bad things about this? In your
there's a lot of education to be made, and obviously there's a lot of projects that aim to take away money from people, basically stealing. That's like one of the issues of cryptocurrencies. This can be solved by learning, but I think crypto is here. It has a strong base. The code is here. The infrastructure is here, the miners are here, so it's secure and it works. Now, the cons to it are, first, education. People need to know how to use it because it's very different from TIBAT or any fiat currency. If you send money to someone you don't know or to an address that is just the wrong address, you type in the wrong address, you copy paste the wrong address, you lost the money forever. So this is obviously a big pro and con to crypto. So there's a lot of learning, I think, needed. There's a lot of adoption needed right now. You couldn't just go out there and pay with Bitcoin Cash. You would have to walk a few streets and pay with Bitcoin Cash. But in the future, hopefully, everyone takes it. You could I don't know, by your a year at this university with Bitcoin Cash. I know some universities already accept it. So yeah, I think in the number 2, I would say adoption. So education, adoption, and maybe third, a government acceptance of cryptocurrency. Because right now, governments are obviously a big part of the system, and they're competing against it. And many countries have released rules against it. So yeah, that might be a third con to Bitcoin, a third problem to cryptocurrency.
Thank you โอเคขอเสียงปรบมือให้คุณพลทีด้วยค่ะขอบคุณมากค่ะ
โอเคครับผมมีเรื่อง announce นิดนึงมีคนมากระซิบว่าจะแจก Bitcoin Cash จะแจก Bitcoin Cash ก็ถ้าใครสนใจอยากได้รับ Bitcoin Cash นะครับโหลด wallet อะไรก็ได้ลองเสิร์ชหาดูที่สามารถรับ Bitcoin Cash